Here is Carl Gibson.
I guess first, let's just start off by talking about what inspired the US Uncut movement. Obviously, a lot of inspiration must have been drawn from the UK version of it, right?
Yeah, although, for US Uncut, I mean, it's a lot more personal here, because after I moved to Mississippi, and I got confronted with the disparity that people face on a day-to-day basis, folks working 3 to 4 jobs just to get by, they still can't pay rent and pay bills, and working hard and just trying to feed their kids. A lot of them have to resort to petty crime and selling drugs just to get by. And in the meantime, you have billionaire corporations like GE, ExxonMobil, Pfizer, Bank of America, Citibank, who find ways to exploit the tax code and hide their income elsewhere and not pay any taxes. They're not paying taxes is a direct cause of these budget cuts. These budget cuts that are laying off public sector workers en masse, folks who have to depend on unemployment checks now instead of a productive job. I mean, this all comes back to folks not paying their fair share. And if everyone just paid their fair share, none of this would be happening. So I think it's time for the people to stand up and do something if leaders won't.
As you mentioned already, so the group's founding chapter is in Jackson, Mississippi, which is one of, if not the poorest states in the Union. And I've been hearing, academics and journalists speculating since the bailout why there isn't more of an organized class movement in this country. Do you see US Uncut as being based on a class movement, or is it more of an economic justice thing, or are the two not really mutually exclusive? Can they both be a reality?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either one has to be exclusive. You look at this present economy, and you look at jobs bleeding out and they're still hemorrhaging out, and they expect to hemorrhage out throughout the rest of the year because of budget cuts. And at the same time, we're moving forward in the 21st century into a new era where not a lot of us are sure where we'll end up. As far as class goes, I think the middle class is evaporating. Folks are really burying themselves deeper and deeper into debt. They're saving fewer and fewer dollars each year. And a lot of folks are really just struggling to just get by. They might live in nice houses, have jobs, drive cars, but really they're really just struggling to make ends meet. I think as time goes on, as you see Congress start to chip away at things like Social Security, Medicare, other government entitlements that have been here for a century, and as you see more and more of this happen at the government level, you're going to see the people grow more and more disgruntled and want to do something. And I think this is just a reaction of recent policy.
So in that same sphere, talking about how the economy is worsening, how jobs are evaporating, the middle class is evaporating, have you experienced a lot of interest in the group so far, or are you having a hard time getting your message out there?
I'll tell you, this is snowballing so quick. I seriously started organizing this about a week ago. I made the Twitter page, formed my own closed Facebook group, and just invited a few close friends and said, guys, we've got to do something about this. And this is right after I read the articles about UK Uncut in The Nation and had, the 10-step guide to starting US Uncut, and I got busy. And since then, just a week later, I'm helping coordinate movements in 20 states. UK Uncut is helping us organize a uniform day of protest against the banks on February 26th. I talked to BBC's The World yesterday. I'm talking to The Guardian soon. This is just really picking up so much attention, and I think this is just an indicator that people are so hungry for a movement like this to come out. Especially when you look at how the right wing has kind of stolen the mantle of populism to preach corporate propaganda and get folks to basically come out and protest their own economic self-interest with the Tea Party movement.
Right on. What corporations are the worst offenders, would you say, when it comes to tax evasion?
Right off the bat, when you look at the Fortune 500 list, companies near the top every year like GE, ExxonMobil, Bank of America, Citibank, Pfizer, they all use really convenient tricks and loopholes in the tax code. They'll say, we get our profits in Ireland, and those have to go through a bank that ends up in Bermuda. So, a company like Pfizer lists no profits made in the U.S. GE lists no profits made in the U.S. I think they had a 35,000-page income tax return, and they actually got money back from the government. So, I think it's just egregious, the abuses that are going on. I think it's time for the people to just speak up and speak out and do whatever we can.
Yeah, I agree. To me, corporate tax evasion is such an obvious way to bridge two of liberalism's greatest power sources, which is labor and the poor. Have you approached organized labor yet about getting behind a US Uncut movement?
Yeah, one of the folks who had sent me some email yesterday mentioned that she is a member of the SEIU and her community and wanted to get them involved. I think she's in Michigan. And of course, Michigan is a big union state, so I think a lot of the US Uncut protests that you might see in the future in Michigan will have a lot to do with organizing with organized labor and unions. Although today in the 21st century, because you mentioned it's a stronghold of liberalism, but unions, really since globalization, have just been demasculated completely since the Reagan administration and since jobs started going overseas. If workers want to speak up and say, we want better hours, we want fair wages, we want better benefits, the company can just say, fine, you're fired, and all your jobs are in China now. Here's a pink slip. We just saved a bunch of money. And there's really not much they can do about it.
You touched on this a little bit with as far as the right wing capturing the spirit of populism with the Tea Party, but what's always been frustrating for me is that, empirically speaking, corporate theft is far more damaging to the country than, say, the issue of illegal immigrants taking jobs. Why do you think it's been so difficult to get poor people to understand who their actual enemies are? Is that a failure of the media, do you think?
I think it is completely that issue you just addressed lies completely on the shoulders of Fox News. They just make no bones about where they stand on issues. They've been proven to make up stories. They don't fact check. So people knowingly are misled on a 24-hour daily basis, 24-hour day basis by a major cable news network that's taken legitimately. Now, a lot of poor disenfranchised people, you walk into a store, you'll see Fox News on TV. You perceive that as a legitimate news network. They say, oh, well, it's in these businesses. It must be a good news network. I'll go home and watch Fox News and get my information from there. Pretty soon you're watching Fox News and getting facts that are knowingly false. And I hate to solely lay blame on Fox News. They're certainly not the only one, but I think the media really needs to use their responsibility as a bully pulpit for organizations and people more responsibly and fact check and hold people to the standard of truth.
Yeah, it's difficult, especially when, as far as the punditocracy goes, they're all wealthy people. There's no poor pundits on television. That's why I asked the question before about if you guys were getting a lot of media exposure, because I think it's so important for actual union representatives, actual people who are losing their homes, to have that platform on a national media, so that they can speak on behalf of the poor.
Mm-hmm. And we need more broke politicians too, man. I would love to see someone run for Congress who is unemployed or is in debt or has like back property tax issues that they can't pay yet. Like, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks would love to see that.
Really?
Like, finally a politician that's not a billionaire.
I really, really agree with you. And I think that's why there was all of that interest in the rent's too damn high guy, and unfortunately he became sort of a punchline, but I really think people do connect with that. I think that would be really interesting to see a true populist run. Yeah, a poor person, that would really be great. What really seems to capture the public's interest is easy to understand real life implications of tax theft. So, for example, I don't know if you read the excellent Nation article by Johan Hari about this.
Yeah.
But UK Uncut used this example. All of the UK cuts in housing subsidies, which drove poor people out of their homes, added up to £7 billion. And one company alone, Vodafone, which is one of Britain's top cell phone companies, owed £6 billion to British taxpayers. And when you hear something like that, it really makes you furious because it's such a lucid example of corporate theft.
It's literally an example of, do you want to make this company pay income taxes or do you want to take away people's housing?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
You mentioned this with Pfizer. You had a great example like this. But does US Uncut have those clear examples ready to hand to the public? Like those very lucid examples of this is how much they stole. This is how much we would need to save one of these programs that the U.S. government is planning to cut.
Me and one of the founders of UK Uncut, we've been collaborating via email and GChat and Skype. And we've been talking about really just coordinating a talking point media strategy. Here's our cause in, 100 words. And what I've started doing, I've been contacted by 2 documentary filmmakers who are doing a whole film about corporate tax evasion and grassroots protest movements against it, like UK Uncut and US Uncut. And they mentioned they've talked to folks like Citizens for Tax Justice, a lot of think tanks and policy people in D.C. who have a lot of information. I'm about to tap into those resources and get some specific names, numbers, and tie those directly to budget cuts and job losses. And yeah, so I'm hoping within a week we'll have a organized, uniform media strategy. So whenever someone is given a bully pulpit, they know exactly what to say and exactly how to make that message resonate with people.
Great. And I know you mentioned something on February 26th. Are there any big kickoff events planned that you want to plug right now?
Yeah. Let me go to the website real quick. On our website, usuncut.org, we have a live map of all the planned protests happening around the country. Right now we have 6 events planned. We've got one in, we have one in Seattle, Washington. We have one in Portland, Oregon. We have one in Washington, D.C. We have one in New York City. We have one in Boston, Massachusetts, and we have one in Portland, Maine. So, and this will spread and snowball. So hopefully by the 26th, I'm gonna have a lot more states on board and a lot more events planned.
Great. Any word on if anyone's planning more of the creative media attention grabbing protests like what the UK Uncut group did, where they were actually like occupying some of the stores when they were protesting?
Yeah, I've been thinking about how to make our protests creative and make the media notice. Because, when the Tea Party folks are out, it's old white people with signs wearing red, white, and blue clothes and sitting in lawn chairs. But what I want to do with US Uncut is I want to go to these specific banks, corporations, corporate offices. While they're operating business, I want us to go in. I want us to be wearing costumes. I want us to be playing music. I want us to be loud. I want us to be organized. And I want people to just turn around and say, whoa, who are these people? I want to know more about them.
Right. And for our Twitter army out there, what is your hashtag?
You can follow us, hashtag US Uncut, just twitter.com/US Uncut. You can stay up to date with our feed. That's our main central organizing page for all of the US Uncut chapters around the country.
Once again, you can figure out or find out how you can help the movement at usuncut.org. Add them on Twitter, add them on Facebook, and get busy. Find a local chapter by you. I really think this is a movement that could gain a lot of momentum in this country, especially when people figure out exactly how much corporate tax theft is actually happening during the worst economic recession.
We should